the beer industry still operates here as a bit of a collective, sharing knowledge and during COVID sharing resources. So we basically had this aluminum can exchange going with like 5 other breweries that were in our wheelhouse, friends of ours from St. Elmo, Vacancy, the beer plant, which RIP no longer exists. And I wish we had one to pour one out. I know. And our homies over at Central District and a few others. And so what wasn't expected is if you take, this is my supply chain hat coming on, if you take the volume of beer consumed in the United States, a lot of that's consumed in bars, restaurants, etc., and you shift it all into cans, there's not enough can production. Factories have to tool up. They have to order backstock inventory, raw aluminum, then they have to manufacture it. Production schedules are set years in advance based on, global costing and demand. And all of a sudden the demand chart shifted all the way into cans. So there were sprawling stockouts of can inventory everywhere. Nobody could get aluminum cans, and it was the only way we could sell for a while was to go packaging. And so whenever we all got cans in, we're all calling each other going, okay, hey man, do you have how many can you spare? We're like, dude, we got a case of cans we can send you. We got 120 coming your way. We drive it over, get us back. Okay, cool. Our shipment's supposed to come in 2 weeks. We'll get you back before you run out, And so we were operating on this bartering exchange system to try and cover each other. I'm all for, I'm a capitalist. I love the free market. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to win on those terms. And, it's I would rather we compete as equals, and I would hate to see anybody not be able to make it happen during those times.
Yeah.
I feel like we all just needed to band together.
Yeah.
Because Austin is, I think, Texas's craft beer capital. It's not just the capital, it's the craft beer capital. I mean, the best beer being produced in the state of Texas is happening in Austin.
The legend, Daniel. Good afternoon. No, we're watch your head as you enter the garage, please, and your step. There's a lot of things that you could trip on. But we like to get ripping right as soon as the guest enters the garage.
I love that. I was thinking, that's a great way to start.
It really is, because there's a lot of times, when I did this before, it was we would have a lot of interesting conversations, and then I wouldn't get on camera. I'm like,
right.
All right, well, we should just get going.
And then you try and recreate them, or
and it's not natural.
And re-ask it, and then it sounds weird and scripted.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, well, how you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been busy. Busy day already.
No shit.
It always is. Let me know if you think I'm microphoning correctly.
With these mics, you kind of want to just hold it up to your.
You want to be pretty tight.
Yeah, pretty tight with
cool.
it. So this podcast is about interesting individuals doing interesting things, and that's my cat who's coming to say hi. His name's Magnus.
Also an interesting indivial doing interesting things.
Oh my God, he's he's not shy.
Magnus.
So he's really nice and sweet. He's an older guy.
Nice. Distinguished gentleman.
Yeah. Do you have animals?
I don't have any animals. My
children
are
you
animals
allergic
sometimes.
Are you allergic to cats?
No,
okay, all right.
No, I love all animals.
All right.
I'm good to go.
So given this podcast is about, are you going to join us, bud?
Come on
Why
up.
not? Yeah, come on.
Join the party.
This will be a first.
There we go. You want to hang out with me? Nice. All right. I actually love cats. I had a cat growing up.
Okay.
And, we just don't have one right now because I live next to too many busy roads.
Yeah.
I'd feel super bad if it went missing. That's the only reason I don't have one.
Well, he's a bit of a sheltered animal. He's basically institutionalized. He has not said, Magnus, what the hell are you doing? You are so... He is, yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. We'll give you a lint roller after this episode.
That is all good. Honestly, I'm used to being covered in pretty much anything and everything because of either work or 2 small kids at home.
Yeah.
So I'm usually covered in something, some sort of food item or you
poop
name it.
or vomit or all that good
a lot.
stuff.
Sometimes all 3.
I just realized this yesterday, or I think on Sunday night, was actually daylight saving time.
Yeah.
Did you realize that?
I honestly didn't. I went to bed and I just woke up and was like, God, it's really dark. This storm must be really heavy cloud cover. And I got up And I grab my daughter and I go to make a bottle. And I look at my clock in my oven and I go, oh no. What have I done?
Right.
I should have planned to sleep in or something, but I didn't.
Yeah, I worked all weekend, and it was late nights, early mornings, and so I completely lost track of time. And it was only this morning that I got up because I had a dentist appointment. I looked at like my wristwatch, and I'm like, it's an hour behind my computer clock. What happened? And then I'm like, oh, it was daylight savings time. We lost an hour of sleep, and man, did it ruin my world. I was exhausted the entire weekend, and I couldn't figure out why. But come Monday morning, I realized why. So last time we did this was at your establishment, which that's how this entire show got started. You allowed a crazy individual into your establishment to create a podcast.
That's right. Sight unseen. We said, let's go.
You had no idea what I was talking about. I could have very well been the next Alex Jones, and you would have had no idea.
I would have known, man. You're just a guy who came in to have some beers sometime.
Right. And
were we one of the first?
I think you were the third episode.
Okay, cool.
And at the time, I had just started my own company. I was coming off of a full-time job doing video work. And I was like, I'm going to start my own thing. And I want to do a podcast. And I want to do it my way, not not the way the company was wanting me to do it. And doing it in your establishment was awesome, but it also became really costly because I had like 3 cameras. I had a light that I had to rent. And I'm like, this is not a good business model to have if I keep, forking over hundreds of dollars for each episode.
I mean, the rig was crazy. I remember the setup, and it looked like a full production studio in there. It was crazy. I was like, this guy's real deal. I was like, we've made a good decision at least booking with this guy.
Right. And the thought of it was like, okay, if I overproduce the shit out of it, then it's going to generate the viewership, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Now it's more so about the conversations, and I think that's the most interesting thing in that the conversations will lead to some sort of viewership, but I don't know, it's the most authentic thing you can really do.
For sure. Yeah, to the point, like, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts even, then I don't even watch the video portion of it. But if it's interesting enough guests or topics, I find myself enthralled. It's actually my number one choice versus music a lot of times is to put on a podcast as I drive, because I'll go in between Nomadic Beer Works and Nomadic Outpost, and it's about 12 minutes to 15 or so. It's about the right amount of time to consume a bit of a podcast. And so I got a few that I like to watch and listen to. And so I'm excited to be on one. Right. It's all very, very cool for me.
I'm very excited to have you because you have grown by leaps and bounds since I first established the podcast back in God knows when, 2000, whenever that was, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And you just started out as a brewery, and then that grew into a beer garden. But before we get all to that, I want to take it back to where you come from and how you got established and growing up. So you're from Michigan, correct?
Originally from Metro Detroit.
Okay. And what did your parents do for a living?
So my folks were... Basically, my father was a financial planner.
Okay.
He worked for Solomon Smith Barney. And
what's that?
Basically, I think they got gobbled up, honestly, by somebody, either a JP Morgan Chase or somebody. But he basically was an investment planner. He was a stockbroker. And he worked really long hours, because he was starting out in his career, and it was a bad time, I think, economically for his industry. It was like early 90s or something. And so he was putting in all kinds of hours. And my mom worked in essentially supply chain management. Oh, wow. But she left that all to raise me and my brother full time.
Okay.
And, maybe that's why we're so close. We did a whole lot of things together growing up because we're only about 18 months apart.
Okay. What part of Michigan did you grow up again?
So Metro Detroit. Okay. So just outside of what I would consider like the urban core. Detroit's really interesting because you have the downtown city center, and then you have this massive donut around the city that essentially was the victim of this urban flight that occurred after the Detroit riots, when the auto industry was just collapsing. American manufacturing was collapsing. So there's like a donut that's kind of a dangerous spot. Kind of ends at 8 Mile. We all know Eminem and 8 Mile. I lived on 11th Mile. Okay. So going out of Detroit, every mile of road is exactly a mile from the city center. And so you can gauge how far away you are from the city through those mile roads.
I was there in Detroit December for a job. And brother, how did you manage the cold out there? It was 22 degrees. I get in the Uber and I'm like, how do you guys live out here? He goes, oh, this is nothing. This is nothing. Absolute nothing. I go, how does anyone function in this area when it's this cold?
I think you develop a lot of grit because you have to. And
not a little sissy like me.
You have to, right? Because you have to make friends with it and just go out in it. Whereas I think here in Texas, we get to choose whether or not we want to face it. Because it's not that many days. You're like, it's raining the next couple of days. I'm staying in. But if you live in Seattle, you're certainly not going to choose to stay in on every rainy day or you'll never get outside. Right. And in Detroit, it's similar where you just make friends with it.
Yep.
And you kind of have to, because winter starts there right around Thanksgiving, and it can be freezing up until late April. I mean, that's a massive time frame to be dealing with freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
And so you learn how to layer really well. You got to layer hard. You pre-warm your car before you get in it. And you treat it like Texas summer. You go from heat source to heat source. Okay. You don't stay out too long unless you're, going to the mountain or you're doing something fun, to go snowboard or get out on like lakes to do some, some snow, some ice skating.
Yeah.
And kind of like here, it's like when it's summer, you go from air conditioning to air conditioning, or if you're doing something fun like getting out on the lake, you brave the heat and you get out and find some water.
I think we do get to choose how we handle our weather, but boy, when it drops below 32 degrees, is there a national emergency that happens here in Texas? Like everyone panics, they buy all the food out of HEB, and then it just becomes a really, terrible place to be a part of when it's below freezing. It's
like a frenzy. It's like really a beehive has been kicked and everyone is buzzing around and going nuts.
A massive panic sets in anytime there's a whisper of snow. So as you grew up, where did you go to college?
I went to school in Michigan, actually, which was my second time living in the state because when I was younger, my parents split.
Okay.
And my mother moved my brother and I out to San Diego when I was 10.
Okay.
And so I actually kind of lived this dual life my entire life where I would spend holidays and summers in Michigan, but I would spend my school year in San Diego.
Okay.
So I was in San Diego for most of those formative years, 10 to 20. And I ended up going back to school in Michigan because I kind of wanted to chart my own path. I had this recollection that you're going to college. You can be anybody. You can become anything. This is a time to define myself without my peer group present telling me kind of who I am and reinforcing an identity of myself that was cultivated when I was 12. Maybe there's a different version of me.
There's a little bit of a nomad spirit.
Definitely. 100%. My entire life, was kind of built on, I think, having to travel.
Yeah.
I was jumping planes back and forth between Detroit and Michigan, even as a child, 12 years old, 13 years old, going through the check-in process, going from plane to plane, managing layovers. And so I grew up always having this identity that was almost based in not having one permanent home.
Yeah.
And then my parents did an excellent job of getting us out on family road trips to go down to Florida for some vacations in the colder winter months, or driving out to Colorado to go hiking in the summer and spring. They just load all the kids up in a minivan, my grandma, a couple cousins, and we would drive 24 hours straight from Michigan to Colorado.
Wow.
Tough to do as a child.
Right.
But
this was before iPads.
Road warrior.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I can crush out miles. Like my wife and I will go driving and I'll literally be like, all right, it's 18 hours. I think we can do. I used to drive Austin to San Diego, one shot, 18 and a half hours. I would drink like 3 Red Bulls.
Okay.
I'd kind of be cracked out by the time I got there. Not gonna lie.
I don't doubt that. Why? What's the point? Like, what's the hurry?
You know what it was is owning a business. I didn't have a ton of time.
Okay. Yeah.
And I couldn't fly because I had, at the time, I had a big 95-pound black lab. I mean, big old boy.
Yeah.
And I wanted to take him with me.
Okay.
So the only option to get as much time with my friends as possible was to just book straight through.
Okay.
Also, not a ton of places that are super fun in between Austin and San Diego. Not until you,
would you take I-10 out there?
Yeah, straight across.
A lot of desert to cross through.
A whole lot. Half the drive is Texas. It's so much Texas.
Yep.
And there's like very few little towns, oil towns, things like that. I've stopped in, oh man, why am I blanking? Is that El Paso?
El Paso, yeah. There's El Paso.
I stopped a couple of times there. It's a good midway point.
Okay.
Decent little craft beer scene there.
Yeah.
But there's not a ton of things to do, so you run out of stuff pretty quick. So it just made sense to just cruise through.
Yeah. We would make that trek from Midland, Texas or Alpine, Texas to Riverside, California, and it was it was tough to get used to, but I kind of grew fond of the desert because that meant I was going to go see my brother and sister, and then leaving it was like, oh man, it's just nothing but desert here. There's nothing to really look at. But I don't know, it kind of grew on me.
It's pretty at a certain point. It's
be.
really beautiful. If you notice, it's really beautiful on the drive out. On the way back, not as pretty, just big and long.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow, this is a lot of this.
Yeah.
But there's like some fun rock structures that I kind of started to recognize that I knew I was making good progress. Right. And there is one thing about the road trip, kind of going back to that, like I don't lament the hours on the road because there's very few times in life where you get to sit and you're kind of allowed to do nothing. You shouldn't be on your phone. Maybe you've ran out all the music you want to listen to, or you're listening to a song that you're just jamming to. Like it's a full on bop. You're like, this is it. And you're in your head thinking for hours. That doesn't happen in normal life.
Nope.
You got this to do. You got an errand to run. You got a call to return. You got text messages pouring in. And on the road is where you get the uninterrupted space. And so I've grown to really appreciate time on the road and just thinking.
You like that windshield time?
I love it. I freaking love it, dude. It's like, it's one of the best things. It's gotten less cool with 2 screaming kids in the back. Turns out can't focus is good.
No, you don't say.
I've stopped the road tripping since I've had kids. We fly everywhere now.
I feel like they're kind of a ticking time bomb with their temperament and attitude.
They are.
They can be. So you go to Michigan for school.
Yep.
And also to kind of find yourself.
Yeah.
Is there a particular degree that you wanted to go after? Yeah.
So what I started off studying was marketing, advertising and promotion. I enjoyed the idea of writing a narrative, defining a brand. I enjoyed the idea of selling. And so I really, really enjoyed the creativity that marketing provided. I'm kind of like an ex-art student. I mean, I always have performed art and done visual arts. So it appealed to me in terms of creating actual physical advertisements, whether it be like magazine style or, things of that nature. It wasn't until I got there and started thinking about my goals, which from a young age has always been to either invent something or run my own business, that I realized that the operational side, as I took more business courses, was just as important. That demand creation, the demand fulfillment needs to be back there. So that's when I chose to pick up a double major in supply chain management. So all of it was kind of for the goal of creating a business.
Yep.
It's funny, even as a kid, I had this little notebook that I would write down inventions in. And I was like, I'm going to sell an invention and I'm going I'm going to buy my parents a house. You know, I remember having these just lofty aspirations of creating something one day. And I was slowly narrowing my way, I think, towards entrepreneurship, even as I was kind of trying to define myself or reinvent myself at college. Yeah, that was kind of the process.
And eventually, what was your first, I guess, career job outside of college?
Career job out of college was I was working in procurement. I took a job with General Motors at their headquarters in Detroit. A lot of people work the auto industry there. And I was procuring aluminum die-cast products and powdered metal products for their transmission department.
Okay.
Very cool. I love cars. I don't even know what's about me. I freaking love cars. I love the design of cars. Being somebody who's been born in Detroit, I think it was instilled in me at an early age. My dad would take me to classic car shows. Oh, so this job was kind of like a dream. I was like, oh man, I'm working for General Motors. Yeah. This is so cool. I mean, I got to go and travel their wind tunnel testing areas, and I got to do all these amazing things. But a large portion of that job was basically negotiating extremely hard with our supply base to ensure profitability. It wasn't as much technical. I did work with a team of engineers and whatnot. Right. I did supplier and plant audits, which was a lot of fun. But the nitty-gritty of the day was suit up, look at pro. We had to actually still wear full suits most days. Casual Friday was when you could wear a polo. It was like, it's an old school organization. Yeah. I used to pick up dry cleaning every week. It was an experience. It taught me a ton. I had some really great mentors. But ultimately the organization itself it's old. So bureaucracy is everywhere. Checks, balances, approvals, everything required multiple layers of that. And as somebody who I think always strived to be kind of my own creator, I found it really difficult to work in that environment. It was kind of soul crushing because I felt like I was fighting with my hands tied behind my back, you know?
Right. What did it teach you about negotiation? Like, what's one thing you took away from that?
I think the biggest lesson I learned is the first deal that's put on the table is considered an anchoring point in most negotiations. Okay. So if you were to come to me and say, yo, Dan, I'd like to sell you this couch. I think the couch is roughly, I don't know, you want to sell it to me for $300. Most people, when they enter into a negotiation, if someone throws out the first offer, that's a point of strength because you set that anchoring point. But if you understand that anchoring point is kind of false, as a counter offer, you can also define your own anchoring point, and you can go, well, I don't think it's worth 300. I actually think it's worth 100. Yeah. But most people will hear the first offer, and because they don't want to offend somebody or they don't want to sound off basis, they'll go, how about 250, right? So they'll start hovering around that anchor point. And so not being afraid to, if you think it's out of line, speak that it's out of line, right, and define its value for yourself and not take whatever someone gives you. Yeah. That's a pretty valuable lesson. Okay. You know, I think that's super important.
That's a great bit of information that I'm always struggling with. It's like when you're negotiating prices, well, for me, it's the common dance of, okay, I want a video. All right, what's your budget? All right, Ramon, what's your price? I'm like, right. All right, cool. Well, let's do this dance. So now I'm becoming better about having those conversations and trying to establish my anchor point as a price. And
do you find that it's like, as somebody who's selling almost an intangible, right? Where a physical product you can benchmark it against its price in the market. Mm-hmm. It's easier to establish what the right price is. How is that as somebody who's selling essentially, it's like your skill set, and which has been developed over time, versus what people think it should be worth, right? You know, does it just come down to working with the right people who see your value, or Like, how does that work?
It's a constant balance of trying to understand the individual, of whether or not they're going to be easy to work with for a discounted price, working within their budget. Is it going to lead to future work? That way I can offer a discounted price to, continue the longevity of a relationship.
Right.
If it's going to be a huge pain in the dick, then I'm going to charge accordingly. And if they bite on that price, great. Then like all of my stress is alleviated. So it's a constant balance. But what I figured out this year is like my cost of what it actually takes to go out and do the job.
Right.
The deteriorating of my cameras every time I use it, I have to factor that in now. And it was a hard lesson learned when I looked at my financials from 2025. I'm like, I'm losing so much money, and it's because I'm not charging accordingly. It's because I'm not factoring in my Google Drive space. It's because I'm not factoring in my hard drive use. And so like now I just have a minimum for whatever project I work on, and then I'll adjust to, what my profitability could be on that rate.
Right.
And if I need to drop it down a little bit to compensate for the individual or the company that I really think it's going to, be a long-term investment, then I can do that. But it's just a constant pulling of levers to see what'll work. But eventually it's about not losing money on a job. And I think that's where I'm at now. It's just like, what can I charge to where I don't lose money?
Right. And that makes a ton of sense, because like businesses, dreams, they can't run on passion forever.
Exactly.
Like at a certain point, you can't keep doing it unless it provides enough for you to keep doing it.
Right. Yeah. And another question I ask once we like entertain the idea of doing a video is like, what are your expectations out of this video? Is it just to have like a little heirloom about that time and place for where you are in that business, or are you looking to generate sales? Like what's the goal of this video? And then that's a good place to start from too. That's a good way to anchor a conversation when people want to do video with me. It's like, what are your goals? What are your expectations? And then there are times when I say, I don't think like my services are going to be for you because you're going to spend way too much money, and I don't think you're going to get the outcome of the video. So I apologize, but here are some other referrals that I know, and maybe they can help you out. And,
totally.
When I do say that, I do think about like, did I just miss out on a really big deal down the line? Like for artists especially. Yeah. If I say no because they can't cover my costs, did I just lose like the next big, I don't know, John Mayer or, someone that I could anchor my success to? But so far, we'll see what happens, but I don't think I've done that just yet.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Yeah. The art of saying no and knowing when to say no is tough.
It's taken me years to learn. I'm still learning, but I feel like I have a better concept of it.
Yeah. It's been one of my biggest, I think last year was one of my mantras and just one of my things where I was like, it's a year of no.
Yes.
I've said yes to so much, and I almost developed a backlog of work that I was servicing, and I was like, I've got to stop this pipeline so I have time to think, and actually look at like, is this working?
Yes.
Am I just spinning my wheels here? Or is my company making money? Are we doing this right?
Right.
It's so difficult. It's funny enough, I was actually listening to a podcast on the way in that they're discussing that very fact as I was pulling up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah. It was impact theory.
Okay. I'll check it out, though.
It's cool. Okay. Yeah, or not impact theory. Modern wisdom.
With is that Chris Willick?
I think so.
Okay, I was in his studio not too long ago. His newly converted studio. He's in Austin, Texas, and
he is in Austin, isn't he?
Yeah. So one of his producers invited me to do some testing of his new studio, and it's an awesome overly produced setup. I don't say overly produced. I think it is the perfect thing that he needs because he's able to afford it.
It's like a premium offering.
It is. It really is.
It's he's an interesting one to listen to as well. Speaking of podcasts, I know we were talking about him. I was like, that's why I love this format, because I think it's interesting because you never know where it's going to go.
Yes.
It could start one way, it goes a different way. You end up exploring concepts, and the format is kind to the fact that you kind of get to dictate how long do you talk, what do you talk about, where does it go, and if it's going good, you let it ride. Like there's some podcasts where I'll like look at it, I'm like, 3 hours? This dude usually does like an hour. What is going on in this? And I'm like, all right, well, put me in, coach. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's take this ride together.
One of my favorite bands here in Austin is Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol.
Oh, Rickshaw Billy's rad.
Dude, they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously, I just love them to death. And I was lucky enough to get the drummer on, and we sat for about like almost 2 hours, and it flew by just because I was fanboying out. Like, oh my God, what's it like playing an awesome band? But no, Sean was super cool. And it was one of those moments. I'm like, man, I'm glad I did that, because I was so scared to ask. But then I told myself, like, what's the worst they could say? No? All right, then you just move on. So during your time at General Motors, there's another important part of Nomadic. Who is Bryce, and what was he doing at the time while you were at General Motors?
Bryce is so Bryce is my brother. He is our head brewer, co-founder, and at that time, he might have been backpacking Southeast Asia, but he was really getting his foundational start as a production brewer. Mm-hmm. I believe, if the timeline's right, he was probably working for this brewery in San Francisco called Fort Point Brewing Company.
Yep.
They took him on originally as a coffee producer. Oh. So they were co-packing for a nitro cold brew coffee, and he was actually making that. I believe he was volunteering his time, cleaning tanks and doing other stuff, just trying to work his foot in the door.
I remember hearing that.
And one day, one of their head brewers or their shift brewers basically called out and said, "Hey, I'm not going to be here." And the ownership looked at him and was like, "Do you brew, right? You've done this. You know our system. Do you want to shift?" And they worked him in, and he just went nose to the grindstone, just getting it done. And it was really cool because I think he was like employee number 5 or 6, and they grew and grew and grew, and he was with them for several years. Wow. Getting to kind of firsthand witness a scaling brewery, learning some really great best practices. And I think while he was there, they went from being distributed only in San Francisco to reaching, I think, all the way down to Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
So,
statewide.
Yeah. Okay. It was a pretty big outfit. We even use some of those lessons today. We're actually contract making cold brew here in the city as well.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
we're still recycling some of that knowledge.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So about what time frame did you start to form the idea that you can do a brewery? When did that idea pop into your head?
So funny enough, when it first started, we got to backpedal a little bit.
Yeah, please.
I think when we both first started college, I was a freshman. My brother was maybe a sophomore, I guess. He was a sophomore. He's a year older than me. And we were hiking in Colorado, and we started talking beer. We were like, dude, craft beer is so cool. What if we started a brewery one day? He was like, well, I'm brewing and I could be our brewer. And at the time I had just my advertising degree. And so I was like, well, I'm studying advertising. You make it, I'll sell it. We got to do a brewery one day. Like it was like, we were just hyped up.
That's
I remember
such a good conversation.
We were hiking over the Continental Divide. It was like an 18-mile hike. It was awesome. We had all this time to talk. And I remember talking about that specifically. And we always followed each other's career. We always visited each other wherever we lived. Hell, even during college, we backpacked Europe for 2.5 months together, staying in hostels, working at a hostel in Budapest. I mean, life was wild. We've had a lot of shared experiences. And so coming off of that, fast forward, maybe, I guess it would be about 5 or 6 years. I had left General Motors. I had moved to San Diego and was working for a like mid-size tech company. They launched satellites, really cool stuff. And basically he was working at Fort Point, and he was ready to jump. He thought that he'd kind of maxed out his learning there. And I was in a similar position where I learned a lot from that company. It was actually one of the best companies I've ever worked for. fantastic organization, management, ownership, all the way through. Probably one of the major reasons I felt comfortable doing what I do today.
Were you single, married at this time?
I was single on the way to being married, I guess. Like my wife and I.
You had a girlfriend.
My wife, had a girlfriend.
Okay,
my wife now, and then she ended up moving from Michigan. We had dated in college, and she moved to San Diego to live with me. Shortly after I arrived there, and so we were on the way.
Okay.
And when we were there is where we actually were calling each other on the phone and talking and going, well, we're both looking to potentially move companies or do something different. What if we revisit that brewery idea? Could we actually make a go of this? And to your question about whether I was married, single, etc., it's like, I didn't have a house, no mortgage. I didn't have a spouse, really. I didn't have anything or kids or anything to like hold me back, where I felt like if I fell flat on my face, the risk of failing was way less than the risk of living with this what if I had tried it in my head. And I knew that was going to kill me if I didn't explore it. And I think my brother was in the exact same boat. And so that's where we started really putting pen to paper. We probably worked for our companies for another 6 months doing business plan development in the later hours of the days. We did about 10 hours of outside work outside of our jobs, and had weekly meetings to just go, okay, what should we learn about? What should we research? How do we develop a business plan where we can get investors to sign up for us? And so that was kind of my side hustle for about 6-7 months before we decided to actually pull the trigger on the plan and move to Austin.
Had you already kind of gotten the travel bug out of your system at that point?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Traveling is not necessarily the cheapest thing you can do. I mean, I'm sure there's ways to keep it affordable, but in the end, those trips overseas are pretty expensive.
So expensive. And, once you're there, they also take a lot of time. So to be there,
right.
To maximize the cost of getting there, you kind of want to be there for a while. So no, I really hadn't. But it just seemed like it was time, and we ultimately landed on the name Nomadic because of that shared love of travel.
Yeah.
And the plan was and still is to have the business be a source that like pushes us to go out seeking new experiences, experiencing them to the fullest, and then using like our beer to tell those stories. So it's one of those things that we always hoped that this would be the ultimate lifestyle job.
Yeah.
We got to work with each other. My brother and I are great friends. We got to be creatively fulfilled by owning a business and hopefully travel and seek out new experiences that bring us to life so that we can share them with the people in our tap room through the beers we produced or the designs that we put into effect or the events we throw. Taking kind of a global lens of inspiration was an exciting idea.
Was there some sort of understanding that maybe we would have to sacrifice travel for a period of time to?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The emphasis was put, the amount of emotion and energy was going to be put into the business as opposed to traveling.
Yeah, like the idea was like the business was it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of the irony of having a brewery founded on the principles of travel is that once you start a business, you literally don't do anything but work on it.
Right.
And it becomes your obsession. And so I always joke, like, for example, we started the business in May of 19. I recently took a trip to Costa Rica. My passport expired in 19.
Oh no.
I didn't realize it till now. I hadn't been out of the country since I started the business.
Wow.
Yeah, wild.
That is okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I had to renew my passport to finally get out,
Did you get it done in time?
I did. I got it renewed. I went to Costa Rica, had a great time. But yeah, the irony isn't lost on me that we did that. But it's one of those things that like I think travel was a way to explore the world, and I think entrepreneurship is also a very interesting way to explore and gain a better understanding of the world because you're not insulated from your own mistakes. The feedback loop between success and failure and effort put in is extremely short. And I think sometimes when you work for a large organization, you are insulated from a lot of that. You can be kind of mediocre in a big company almost indefinitely. But if you're your own boss, when the money runs out, clearly you're not doing a very good job creating money. And so there's this feedback loop. I think the learning that you take on is accelerated, and it's exciting in its own way. And that's what I've fallen in love with, having run my own business.
I think there are so many companies built on mediocrity and they're still sustainable. And I always keep that in the back of my head. Like if you just go one step beyond what you're capable of, or you just, answer that one email when you're dog shit tired in the most polite manner, like at least you're doing far more than any other Fortune 500 company is. And that's what I keep in the back of my head.
Yeah, man, you do. It's like, those are those moments where you do a little extra, you put in a little bit more,
right.
And there's something to be said, for that.
So when did you guys decide to get to Austin, or what made you focus on Austin? And what year was that?
So I guess it was always part of the plan. This is where my marketing background came into play. My brother and I basically lined out a list of 10 or 12 cities where we went,
okay,
these would be really fun places to operate a business and be for a while. Austin
any other logistics other than fun? Like, hey, there
was a ton.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a ton.
So
right. That was like layer one. I was like, we're going to be there. We got to like it. We got to like the culture. We got to like the people. We're going to want to be there. Austin's music, art, culinary scene. I mean, it's inspiring. It's entrepreneurial network too. It's just, this is a hotbed of thought. It's a really cool place to be.
Before we, what?
Yeah.
I was recently in LA. And I saw a lot of interesting things. And my main question was, how does that state function? Because of everything that I saw in there, that wasn't necessarily good. Yeah. Basically, like in one section, we see the most part of LA. One section, we see the most beautiful homes. And then literally the next block, it's apocalyptic dystopia and just some bad shit. So what was it like? What was the state of California and the brewery scene?
Well, I can only speak to the areas that I know.
Yeah.
San Diego,
which is a big kind of brewery scene.
Big brewery scene. It's actually one of the most saturated markets in the craft beer scene.
Interesting.
So I'll backpedal to your question you just asked about what are the layers of why we chose Austin, and that'll kind of answer this question pretty well too. So basically we overlaid, I took U.S. Census Bureau data on like age, demographics, statistics, et cetera, income levels, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I laid it over, the Brewers Association collects data on barrelage production, consumption by certain demographics, number of breweries per capita. There's a lot of resources. And so I basically segmented Austin, Portland, Denver. I think I was looking at maybe Park City, Utah, all these different cities that were kind of mid-size, kind of hip cities to be in. And overlaid to get an idea of number of breweries per capita of like the drinking age adult we wanted to target. So we could use that as an evaluator for like where we wanted to be. San Diego led the charge with like 38 to 40 breweries per every 100,000 adults. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Yeah. It's a lot of breweries. I want to say
like a good time.
It's a great time. A lot of beer being drank.
Yeah.
What was wild though is Texas's beer consumption super high. The number of breweries per capita, the lowest at the time in the contiguous 48. And then Austin as a market was about half as saturated comparatively to your Denvers, your Portlands, your San Diegos, etc.
What year are you pulling this data again?
This was like 2016, 2017.
Okay. All right.
So obviously it's accelerated.
Yes.
Austin is, in my opinion, the mecca of craft beer in Texas. So what I could say is there was no way in heck we were going to start one in San Diego. There was so much competition. There were as many breweries in San Diego County at the time as there were in the entire state of Texas.
Yeah.
To put that into perspective.
Wow.
I mean, that is a lot of breweries.
That is.
So we went, okay, that is bad odds if we're putting our life savings, investment from friends, family, coworkers, anyone who would listen, people we cared about and trusted us. We went, this is a bad call. This is a horrible call. We can't do California. We got to go somewhere else. And so that's where we ended up in Austin, because my aunt and uncle have lived out here since about 2005. And so we kind of had some exposure to Austin.
Yeah.
And so we loved it. But yeah, I think San Diego is special and very different than LA in a lot of ways. I think because of its mix of people. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem to have as, I don't know how to describe it, as LA of an experience or as San Francisco of an experience because of the mixture of, I think, multi-state influence from the amount of military presence there. Being so south, you have a Marine base, you have Air Force bases, you have naval presence, and so you get a lot of people moving in from all over the country. And it's a historically a decently blue collar kind of city. Now there's a lot of medical, there's a lot of education. There is also some very liberal ideologies, but it works out in this cool balance there where it's not as congested, it's not as overrun, it functions better than LA is all I can say based on what I've heard. And based on the fact that me and my friends growing up would just bypass LA. If we were going to go somewhere, we either went further north and went to Santa Barbara or we went all the way to San Francisco. And unless we were going to LA for like a concert or something specific, San Diego provided pretty much the same amenities with a lot less congestion, just not as big, a lot less stress. Nothing against LA, of course. But for me, the slower pace was nice. Like where I grew up, there were strawberry fields behind my house and horse ranches.
Were they forever?
And what's that?
Were they forever?
No.
Strawberries fields forever.
Oh,
anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
They built a freeway, unfortunately, through all that now. So it's not the same place I grew up, but it was slowed down. And there was something cool about that era. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we all pine for our youth in that way, but
as far as but just California is expensive as a whole. I remember seeing taxes on my hamburger receipt. I'm like, what the hell's that tax? Like it was like a good health, good fortune tax. And I looked it up and it was like, it was it was going to help for healthcare for the people working at the hamburger stand. I'm like, okay, that's good. Just don't put it as, in my opinion, don't put it as a tax. Charge me more for the hamburger.
Loop it into the price.
Exactly. Yeah. So that way I don't, the older I get, the more angrier I get about how things function. I'm like, I'm turning into my dad. Yeah. But anyways, I just don't understand how businesses function out there with how expensive everything is.
It's interesting. Yeah. I think, in short, I think there's a lot of high income earning people there that do it. I think you also have to learn to live with less. When you live in San Diego or somewhere, I think you learn to live with less space. But I think what you gain is like shared amenities and a general, it's good to be outside of your house.
Everyone says
it's beautiful outside. So there's all these just sprawling communal spaces to hang out and be, where you don't mind walking around. You don't mind being outside for prolonged amounts of time during all seasons. And so, it's just it's an interesting place to be. It's an interesting place to have left, because once you leave there's a high barrier to entry to get back in, because it's so prohibitively expensive in terms of the cost of your home, the taxes taken out of your paycheck, the money doesn't, and then the cost that you pay for the things once you're out. And so, it's really interesting. It's so different than being in Texas. It's something that is really awesome about being here and being in entrepreneurship is I think that it provides a foothold if you're getting started. It's much easier to be started here. I think you have to be almost entrenched or highly funded to get a foothold in a San Diego or an LA or a San Francisco, because there's such expensive competitive markets.
It seems like mistakes out there could be the end of a business.
Totally.
Yeah. Whereas here, there's a little bit more room to fail forward.
Totally. Yeah. You have a little bit of time. And even kind of going to that point, we were really fortunate that we started our business here in Texas, because I want to say that during the COVID era, which we launched in May of 19, COVID hit in March of 20, and I won't harp on it because COVID's, we'd like to all forget it. It was just a horrible time, but
a lot of lessons learned, I'm sure.
I want to say they lost like a third of their restaurants because of the inability to reopen in a timely fashion. And in Texas, once the dust settled and like there was a grasp on, okay, we know how to save human lives. We figured out how to treat patients who are at risk. Open the frickin' businesses. And one of the reasons we chose Texas is it was a pro-business friendly state. And we didn't realize how important that was going to be until after the fact. But we would have ran out of money in California. We would have ran out of money. And luckily, the state of Texas opened up in a timely fashion, and we were able to get back to operations. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today, man. I don't know. I'd be somewhere else.
During that time period, I did see a lot of breweries trying to help out each other. I know you in particular were like handing out whatever you could to other breweries that were in need of, I don't know, kegs or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, what were you guys doing to help out
Man,
your competition essentially?
Yeah, essentially our competition, which is another benefit of, I think, Austin not having as much saturation, was the beer industry still operates here as a bit of a collective, sharing knowledge, and during COVID, sharing resources. So we basically had this aluminum can exchange going with like 5 other breweries that were in our wheelhouse, friends of ours, from St. Elmo, Vacancy, the Beer Plant, which RIP no longer exists. And I wish we had one to pour one out. I know. And our homies over at Central District and a few others. And so what wasn't expected is, if you take, this is my supply chain hat coming on, if you take the volume of beer consumed in the United States, a lot of that's consumed in bars, restaurants, etc., and you shift it all into cans, there's not enough can production. Factories have to tool up. They have to order backstock inventory, raw aluminum, then they have to manufacture it. Production schedules are set years in advance based on, global costing and demand. And all of a sudden the demand chart shifted all the way into cans. So there were sprawling stockouts of can inventory everywhere. Nobody could get aluminum cans, and it was the only way we could sell for a while was to go packaging. And so whenever we all got cans in, we're all calling each other going, okay, hey man, do you have how many can you spare? We're like, dude, we got a case of cans we can send you. We got 120 coming your way. We drive it over, get us back. Okay, cool. Our shipment's supposed to come in 2 weeks. We'll get you back before you run out, And so we were operating on this bartering exchange system to try and cover each other. I'm all for, I'm a capitalist. I love the free market. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to win on those terms. And, it's I would rather, we compete as equals, and I would hate to see anybody not be able to make it happen during those times.
Yeah.
I feel like we all just needed to band together.
Yeah.
Because Austin is, I think, Texas's craft beer capital. It's not just the capital, it's the craft beer capital. I mean, the best beer being produced in the state of Texas is happening in Austin. Shots. No, I don't want to say shots fired. That's
a bold statement.
But
you were really nice about the state of California, but man, you are just really digging in on we're the best at craft brewery. I love it. That's awesome.
I'm just saying, man. I mean, there's so many in such a tightly knit spot.
Yeah.
Now, and there's always good beer everywhere.
There is.
But actually a lot of great wins happening in different areas. Shout out Brewery up in Temple just won actually.
Oh, really?
Best New Small Brewery Award. I wish I could remember the name. I'd shout them out. But anyways, they're pretty close to Austin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right up the road. It's only a 5-hour commute during rush hour.
Oh, yikes.
No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, it was, it's one of those things. I think the preservation of our industry so that future tourism could continue to happen, super important. And so having a bunch of other great breweries in town makes us the kind of place that people fly in from all over the country to come visit. They come for the music, they come for the food. And when you're in a city, it's like one of the best ways I found to get to know a city is like, I want to go drink the local beer.
That's one of the first things we look up when we travel to Portland, Seattle. It's like, okay, what's the brewery scene at this location? All right, we'll go there and check it out, and then we get a vibe for the city. You know, somewhat adjacent to the city. Right.
Well, at least like you end up there, and I feel like in a craft brew pub, one of the coolest things about it is when you show up. It's a community spot. I feel like a craft brewery is almost like a third place for a lot of folks. People are working there. People are having fun there. They're drinking there. And the bartenders are almost like mini tour guides if you're at a good spot. I mean, and they want to share their city with you. I always get the best recommendations when I visit a brewery. And the bartender will be like, okay, you need to go here for this. You want to check this show out. It's happening this night. And I think that's kind of cool. So I'm always first to the brewery. I'm like, where do I go to get a local beer? What's the best one? I'm going in and I'm shooting the shit, hopefully.
Yeah. Are you going off of, we're going off a bit of authentic. Are you going off like Google reviews? Or are you going off word of mouth? Where are you sourcing the places to go to and visit?
I mean, Google reviews are pretty reliable to get on track.
Yes. Yeah.
And then also usually I feel like there's some really good aggregators of like lists online, like your, I don't know, like Eater and things like that. They don't typically point you in a bad direction.
Right.
You're going to find a gem on those lists.
For sure.
And so I usually go, a little mismatch of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what, do you remember the day you guys settled on Austin, and what was the process in getting to Austin?
So I don't remember exactly what the day was, but I remember when we moved here, it was kind of staggered. My brother was ready to move and leave his career. His now wife was ready to go with him. They both were ready to hit the eject cord. They were done with cold San Francisco and they wanted to go somewhere sunny and bright. So they jumped the gun early and moved out here. So that my brother could get established in the brewing industry and start making connections. So he moved out here, I want to say in like March of 17. And he ended up working for High Sign Brewing.
Oh, great spot.
Yeah, so another great spot. So he's always worked for great breweries and learned from other talented brewers. You know, he's always put himself in those positions. And then I continued working in San Diego. I wasn't quite ready to leave my team there, and I needed to stockpile a little bit more money because this was a pretty big financial leap. So I moved out in November of 17 to Austin, and that was after we signed on a few more investors. Got through the pitches, heard a lot of no's, got some yeses, got comfortable hearing no.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm learning in the sales process. You have to get comfortable with getting told no, because not everyone believes in your idea, and that's okay.
Yeah. It's not a personal attack.
It's not a personal attack. You can't take it emotionally.
No. They, you know what? They got their own thing going on. You got your thing going on. Who cares? And so signed off enough investors that I thought, okay, we're definitely ready to make this jump. Let's go.
Okay.
So I moved out here with my girlfriend, and then we
slash now wife,
mother of my children. Yeah, she really believed in me from the get-go, dude. She's been amazing.
Awesome.
But yeah, so we moved out here, and then that was to start our real estate search. We were pretty ready to sign a lease, and so it took us about 7 months of searching to find the right piece of property. we teamed up with an awesome local realtor who we felt shared our vision, and also had an equal desire to create interesting things in his community. His name's Danny McKinley. He operates Space Squared, and he basically won us over because we sat down. I remember we had I think a lunch meeting at Odd Duck. We talked over kind of our vision, and he talked about what his company's vision was. He left a large real estate group to start his own boutique real estate company, and he was interested in giving back to his city. So he's a local Austinite, and he wanted to see cool things in his community. That was kind of his focus. And shout out, he delivered because he repped us.
Yeah.
He represented Zilker.
Oh,
he represented
okay.
Cosmic.
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah, the dude's immeasurably plugged into the scene. He's lived here his whole life, and has a way of finding these properties that are not just good for him to sell, but also good for the tenants to be at. Mm-hmm. So we ended up on our little space up on the hill off of Woodbury, and we got to work, man.
Yeah. What was the first real thing that you had to create in that environment for you? Obviously, the I don't know what they're called.
Like the brew house?
Yeah, the brew house, duh. But what was another key concept or item that you needed to have in there?
So, we inherited what was essentially an old CrossFit gym. Okay. And so it was bare bones.
Do you remember the name of it by chance? All right, no big deal. Let's not waste time on it.
Oh, what is it? What is it? I'm not going to get it, but they had several murals up in their place. Okay. Just like graffiti art, like super buff, 12-pack chick. There was Puking Clown. I guess that was a part of like the CrossFit.
That's the
lore.
Cultural thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone visits Pukey at one point or another, or Pukey visits you.
Pukey visits you. He kind of haunts you.
Yeah.
So Pukey is actually behind the drywall in the brewery still. We
decided we
didn't want to paint over it. We thought maybe one day someone would like tear off the drywall and be like, what the hell is this? What is this weird clown back here? Yeah. I think we ended up spray painting a mustache on the chick and giving her kind of like the V for Vendetta kind of look with the mustache and the little thing, and a few other things. But no, I think the infrastructure wise, we had to go like floor up. So we had to saw cut the concrete and lay all of the plumbing in place. We had to frame out all of the walls for the restrooms and the tap room, insulate all of the walls. And then it was building out the bar, and we had to source all of our equipment while we were doing this. So, small budget operators, we literally were taking flights, flying around the country, buying used equipment as cheap as we could find it, driving it back in U-Hauls.
Okay.
We've got equipment from West Texas that used to be old dairy equipment that has been retrofitted for brewing that are still in operation. We've got our cold storage box came out of a barn in Pensacola, Florida. We've got fermenters from all over. It was very much a bootstrapping experience.
I would assume that if you are acquiring these pieces of equipment from other parts of the world, you're factoring in the cost of traveling to get those items, and it's still going to be cheaper than getting them
new. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I would hope that effort that you're putting into acquiring all these would save you some money.
I think it did. It did. I would say this though. We weren't as advanced back then. Maybe some of our calls weren't great.
Right.
But they almost, we were young and we had a lot of time, and some of it was about the adventure itself. How great of a story would this be? What if we went out here and did that? But in reality, we probably could have crunched a few extra numbers on some of them. I'm just saying.
With the cosmetic stuff, were you doing that all yourself, including the plumbing, or did you have to hire contractors?
So for the original location in Austin, you have to have certified trades doing a majority of the work. So framing and plumbing and electrical, all of that stuff. On the infrastructure side for the building, yes. Then once we were out of that, on the more technical and finish out side is really where we did all of our value add. So my brother rigged in and planned all of the glycol lines, which is essentially the coolant loop that cools in processed beer.
Yeah.
Because yeast only lives in a certain temperature range, and so you have to control temperature within plus or minus a degree. So there's valves and solenoids and temperature probes and all kinds of stuff rigged to this control panel.
The regular old Walter White behind there.
Oh, he's good. He's good. Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's good. He chose the safe route and went with beer, but he could be operating out of a RV in Mexico. He'd be rocking it, dude. And then I did on the other side all of the finish out. So pouring the concrete bar top, building all of our fixtures, which were highly made out of reclaimed materials. That was one of our missions, was to build a better brewery for our community. And on a high level, that means taking an environmentally conscious look at material usage and things like that. A little bit of both.
So what was it like dealing with the contractors? Did you have referrals from, I guess, the real estate guy, or did you have to go out and source them yourself?
Yeah. So one of his strengths is he operates as kind of a find and build realtor. So he found the site, and then he also essentially plug us in with contractors that he has relationships with. And so he let us he picked a few, and we kind of interviewed them and went through bids and found one that made sense to us.
Yeah.
That being said, man, we were green. We were so green, and we're dealing with these contractors and tradesmen, and there's strong opinions, and everyone's just trying to get the job done. And there were some corners that were cut that we probably could have been a little stronger on, like, hey, redo it.
Yeah.
But we're also facing a deadline for our project. And so sometimes it was like, are we going to win this battle and lose the war, or do we just let this go and keep the project moving forward?
Yeah.
And those are tough decisions to navigate at times.
I can imagine.
But as long as the end use wasn't impacted, we tried to let it slide. Like, say, for example, our soffit was supposed to be hung with threaded rod. We wanted it to be a walkable platform up top in case we wanted to build stuff up there. Mm-hmm. They ended up using this tensile wire that didn't have the same amount of load-bearing capacity. But I was like, ultimately, we don't even have a plan for it yet. The drywall guys were supposed to come in the day later. If we stopped that, we would have held the drywall, and then the next piece. And so we're like, okay, let's just keep it moving forward. Yeah. But there was an instance where a drain line was run directly where our tap wall was supposed to be. The tap wall can't be moved, and the tap wall needed to be a certain distance away so that the bar functioned. And there was this giant vent pipe sticking straight through to the sky, and we did have to call the guys back in for that.
Okay.
And they hemmed and hawed and threatened to walk off the job. And I was like,
God.
You guys didn't read the plans right. Like, this isn't on me.
Right.
So there's times where you got to push.
Yeah, I think, how did that factor into the stress? Because all of these things are dependent upon another individual's work ethic and whether or not they're going to get the job done. So, like, how much did that stress you out?
It was honestly,
because it's out of your control.
It's painful.
Yeah.
At that time, Austin was experiencing a massive building boom. Contractors were in short supply, so they also were calling their shots and spread across a lot of jobs. And so there were weeks where I would be in there doing work, and I'd be like, I haven't seen a single contractor this week, and I know this work can be done, and they're not bringing these guys in. And I was young, and I probably bit my tongue more than I would now. I think now I would having gone through 2 build outs, I would just call my GC. I'd probably call him 3 times a day. Hey man, just sitting here waiting for you guys. Just curious if they're gonna show up today to work, But I was young, and I was just trying. I didn't know what to do, and so and I was spread so thin too. I was working a side gig, managing a food truck's off-premise catering operations. I was charging Lime scooters at night.
I think that's one of my most memorable stories of you guys. You're using the van.
I was
the
using
Nomadic van.
What was once our delivery van, which at the time was my personal vehicle. Delivery van, scooter transport. I was going around Austin picking up Lime scooters and charging them for like $6 a pop or whatever, because I needed flexible earning while I was managing build out and doing stuff. Yeah. And yeah, like I literally would, and I live in the second story of this apartment building. So I'd have to take these scooters out of the van, walk them up these stairs, put them in my living room. And I just remember walking out one night and thinking my life is just absolutely ridiculous. Cause my living room was, when they're charging, they strobe this green light, but they're all strobing at different times. And so it looked like an alien mothership in my living room. I was like, what am I doing with my life right now? Like, have I totally blown everything up? Like, but it all came together.
What were you using that money for? Just like groceries?
Just living expenses.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I wasn't saving anything. I'd put all my savings into the brewery.
Oh.
And I was basically just needing to make enough money to tread water.
Yeah.
Until the business started. That was basically it.
Okay, so you signed the lease. You remember what month? What
July.
Day? July
of 18.
How much runway in terms of time did you have before you needed to start not making a profit, but just covering your costs?
On the business?
Yeah.
So luckily I raised enough money with like strong business fundamentals to have 6 months of operating cash flow.
Okay.
And then while we were in build out, we negotiated a rental abatement of, I want to say 6 months.
Oh, all right.
So we were able to essentially offset our rent. We weren't paying rent for the first 6 months. Mm-hmm. And construction went 10. So we were about 2 months away from running out of all of our money when we opened.
That's causing me stress right now.
It was a little stressful.
I know you're like successful now, but Jesus, that is wild. Okay.
Yeah. So we made it up by basically not hiring immediately. I think it was me, my brother, his wife, and my wife, and we would round robin work shifts. We did all the shifts 7 days a week. And luckily and not luckily, it wasn't very busy in the beginning. And so there were a lot of days where we would sell $50 that day. Oh. We'd see like 2 guests. It was hard. And we'd come in. I was basically halfway from like doing handstands to keep them there. And I was like, dude, I was like a dancing monkey behind the bar, just trying to keep these people in long enough that hopefully the next group that showed up wouldn't show up to an empty bar. You guys want to see a brewery tour? You guys want to try this beer too? You guys want to stick around? Tell me your life story. I'm all ears, you know?
Okay, so construction is complete.
Yeah.
Then you have to brew the beer. Then you have to brew the product that it's going to get people into the doors.
Yeah.
How did that process go?
So
what were the hiccups
you're
there?
not allowed to operate in your own facility until you get your certificate of occupancy, which doesn't happen until you finish build out and the health department clears you and the fire department and all the inspectors leave. So that was the most difficult portion of waiting. Was we got our certificate of occupancy. We're finally allowed to brew beer in our space. And now it's brewed and we're sitting on a space. Oh man. We've got no product to sell. We could be open, but we got 2 more weeks of just taking it on the chin. But during that time, we were just working hard on marketing, getting the word out.
Yep.
Our new brewery's opening. We're coming in. And luckily at that point, the craft beer scene was incredibly lively. I mean, the bubble was fully inflating. Mm-hmm. And so I remember our first weekend was like drinking out of a fire hose. I mean, we got worked. The craft beer tours were out. The people were chomping at the bit for new breweries. And the first few months were insane. And then what happens with the life cycle of any new location is your hype bubble starts. And then the hype dies and you find where your true baseline is. And it's usually quite a bit lower than that initial hype cycle. And then you climb upward. Yep. That's where the real work starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, what were you spending your money on, like in regards to food? Were you just eating beans and rice? Were you eating ground beef and rice? Ramen? What was the...
Okay, it's kind of disgusting.
I'm all for it.
But so I worked at, it was Gordo's Public House.
Oh, okay.
Remember Gordo's?
Yeah.
And I ran their off-premise caterings.
Oh, okay.
For weddings and things like that. Yeah. And I drove the Airstream out to events and stuff. At the end of the event, we'd always have so many donuts left over.
Oh,
I would bring like
Daniel
trays of old donuts home. I ate so many donuts. I honestly I haven't had a Gordo since.
I don't blame you.
Dude, I would come home and I'd be working the fryer. So I would just be like, I'd smell like stinky donut grease. And my wife wouldn't even let me come to bed unless I took a shower. She'd be like, she's like, you are not coming into bed. You need to take a shower. You smell like old donuts. I was like, fair.
So donuts. Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's a lot of donuts.
That allowed you to save some coin there. Okay.
I saved some coin. And then, honestly, I was fortunate enough to, at least have had some sort of a nest egg.
Yeah.
So a lot of taco truck tacos, I feel like, like nothing too hype.
Right. Was it one meal a day, 2 meals a day?
Oh, you know what?
Obviously, I'm a big food guy because that's the one thing that I'm worried about is like, what do I have to give up in terms of food if the business, like if I need to like sacrifice it?
Yeah. You know what? We didn't necessarily sacrifice food per se. Okay. But what we did sacrifice was we essentially worked just on tips. And so we had to, we weren't paying ourselves a wage. We weren't paying ourselves a salary. We were trying to get our cash flow back right.
Yeah.
And so we were just hand to mouth on tips. But my wife once it really started going, we hired somebody, and my wife she was a special education elementary school teacher. And so she had a constant salary.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like a few months in. We just made it work.
Okay.
We just made it work. It wasn't like we were starving. I had saved enough money for my prior gigs where there was enough to eat.
Got it.
But the savings were kind of doing this for a little bit before they finally started trending back upward.
Right.
Yeah.
So you open and you're operating successfully.
Yeah.
Pandemic hits. We're not going to harp on it too much, but what was the one thing that you considered that kept you afloat, like that kept you going?
Well, I think citywide support of local businesses was through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, people were really supportive. Our volume actually increased during COVID, oddly enough.
Well, I can understand why people were stuck at home. What else are they going to do?
They're just sitting around drinking beers, man. My recycling bin was a testament to that a few times. I remember looking at it and being like, wow.
You did some work, honey.
We put in the work this week.
Yeah.
But we had this really interesting promotion that we started, and it was something that was, again, this is where marketing is so fun. I came up with this idea called 3 in 1 4. And the idea is when you came in to buy a 3-pack of those crowlers, those 3 tall cans, there was the 1 4 was 1 pint for a friend when COVID ended.
Remember that. Yep.
And the idea of it was based in this thing. We were being pulled apart, and we're used to getting together with friends and family and shared spaces and having a shared experience. And now we were relegated to our individual spaces. And I was like, there's going to be a lot of pent up demand for people to go out and get back together. And I was like, what if we allowed people, when they bought a to-go beer, to get to text their friend and say, hey, when this is all over, I bought you a pint at Nomadic. I want to get together with you. As a way to give people an option to connect. Now here's where like the business side comes in, which I was like pretty good. We were giving people value. It was a future benefit. Mm-hmm. It cost us nothing in the present, right? So we were able to sweeten the pot also on our to-go deal with something that didn't cost us anything, but it spoke to the core of like what we all really wanted.
Yeah.
And it ensured that at the end of COVID, we were one of the first places that people got together at again, essentially establishing a rhythm of coming to our space.
That's brilliant.
That marketing was cool. We did 20 names to a sheet, and then we displayed every single sheet as they were getting filled up on this board. Because at the end of the day, when COVID was done, we're like, you come in, you find your name on this board, we cross it out, and then you redeem your pint. Easy as that. So we had this wall plastered with like 100-something sheets, all full of names.
Yeah.
And it was fun because people could come in afterward and then find their name, get their free pint, show up with their friends. we had a few pints. Like people at a certain point who were regulars started putting down like random names. We had like the Undertaker. We had freaking like Willie Nelson. There was Matthew McConaughey a few times. McConaughey still got like 3 beers for free at our place if he ever shows up. I think we have the list somewhere. We eventually put it onto a spreadsheet, and it exists to this day. But obviously it doesn't really get mentioned ever anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun promotion. And then the collaboration between other breweries was another thing that allowed us all to stay profitable through that time.
Got it.
That was it. And that 6 months cash flow. We had worked it up over the first 7 months of operation just to have it all get gobbled up through COVID.
Right.
But again, like strong business fundamentals, so important.
But you kind of knew that people who were coming in to get their free pint, they were going to eventually buy another pint or 2 or 3 or 4.
Totally. I rarely go to a brewery and have one beer.
It's a very slippery slope.
Even when I say, let's go out for one.
Brother, that's my favorite thing.
As far as I know, one means 2.
Yep. Yeah.
If I had to keep track, I'd assume.
Yeah.
You know?
All my buddies, when we just always say, "Hey, let's go grab one beer," we know it's not one beer, but
no.
it's always a good time, and that's my favorite thing to do. So I came up with this question last night.
Yeah.
What when did you know your brother was like? When did you know your brother was the guy to go through Walk to Mordor with?
Oh,
like, was there a specific moment they're like, man, he is my brother? But because I've seen so many like friends who start businesses, their friendships erode. I've seen marriages erode because of the business,
right?
And so, like, when did you know, like, oh man, Bryce is with me through thick and thin?
Man, it's one of those things that I think we've always been extremely close as brothers, but also as friends. Our mom was famous for when we were getting into fights, even as kids, saying, you guys better be nice to each other because he's the person who's going to know you the longest in your life out of anybody in your life. I'm going to be gone. He's still going to be there. You're going to make friends later in life, but he's known you before that. Get along. And I think it's stuck with us. Like, it's true. Like my brother is the one guy on this planet who is going to have known me for the longest, assuming everything goes well in our lives and we don't fall ill with any crazy and just injuries or illnesses, and I think that's special. So I guess I don't know if there's one specific point where I was like, he's the guy. But I did think about that a lot because, you get into business with somebody and I think you have to be brutally honest with each other at times. And I think that's where some people falter is they get into a relationship with a significant other. First of all, wouldn't do it. Nope.
Yeah. Even at a very early age when I saw that, like, how that where I'm like, this is not going to last long.
I'm like, I love my wife, but like, I like having different experiences,
right?
Because I like to bring something new to the table when I come home from work. 2, it's like, if you can't have brutally honest conversation, then you're not going to have the hard talks. And then that's where like resentment builds. Stuff that's skated over is really bad. It can fester. It can become toxic. So one thing that I thought when I was starting, I was like, well, my brother and I have literally exchanged blows. Like we have like fought each other. What are a few words, So in like some of our team members can contest to this. I remember opening day, we're like putting everything together. We're almost ready for opening. And at one point he says something to me and I start going back and we're chirping at each other. Da-da, F you this and that, da-da-da. And one of
I totally can't see that, but man, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it gets heated, because everything's on the line. The pressure was huge. I'm like a chill guy, but like me and my brother can get at it. And what I think is cool though is we've never not once made up. And I think that we always try and find a way to see each other's point of view, even if it takes us a moment to walk away from each other and come back. And so I thought about that when we found it. I said, you know what? This is the guy that at least I can be brutally honest with. And, we've exchanged words and we've not agreed on a lot of stuff throughout the last few years. But the one thing I've always known is that thankfully we're good communicators, and we're able to get to the heart of it. And, it's something that I try and lead with is like, if I'm going into a difficult conversation, remembering the intention for the conversation at the start, so that when it starts to get heated, I can come back to that and be like, dude, am I acting in accordance with the thing I set out to do? Or am I getting my emotions getting the best of me? And so, yeah, I think it's one of those things. That's why I think it's worked so well.
How do you balance that emotion of your business versus, how do you balance a business decision with an emotional decision?
How do I balance a business decision with an emotional decision? Yeah. I think in the beginning, it was very much emotional. Everything was, tied up. This was my life's work. This is what I was trying to prove to the world, but prove to myself that I could do. And at times criticisms felt like personal attacks. What you should do would always come in. What should I do? And I would get a little.
Why don't you tell me? I've been slaving over this fucking counter for the past 72 hours. What should I do?
I'm sure I haven't thought about that. Please tell me, enlighten me. Those things would drive me up the wall. If employees would say, we should really do this, I almost took them as personal digs, like I wasn't a good enough owner or manager.
Yeah.
And I had to do just kind of a little bit of self-reflection on that and go like and I had a conversation with this guy, and he bluntly put it to me. He goes, Dan, do you think a mural would look good over there on that wall? And I was like, yeah, the mural would look good over there. He's like, why haven't you done it? And I was like, well, because I haven't had the time. He goes, you don't think anybody on your team is able to do that? I'm like, no, I'm sure they could. He goes, come with me real quick. He was like this veteran business owner. I go, okay. He walks up. He's like, come with me. Takes me to my own bar. Walks up to one of my bartenders. He goes, hey, I got a question for you. He goes, don't you think a mural would look over there on that wall? And she goes, yeah. He goes, you know anything about murals? She goes, not really. She goes, if I told you that I wanted you to put a mural on that wall, you think you could find an artist to bring him in, paint it, and do the whole thing? And she goes, yeah, probably. And he goes, so Dan, he goes, why haven't you given it to her if you don't have enough time? And I was like, damn, this guy just called me out like so good. I was like, damn, I am not doing a good job delegating.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think like it's weird when you have your own thing, your ego gets wrapped up in it. I think I wanted to be recognized as the person who did it all. And I also wanted to do it for my own self because I thought I could do it better. But as I think I progressed in this business, is what I realized is, a lot of people also are very talented. Just because the way they do it isn't the way that I would do it, doesn't mean that it's bad. And even if it's not done 100% to the degree that maybe I could have done it, if I'm not doing it, I'm doing it at a 0. If they can do 90, that's way better than my 0. And so I needed to get out of my own way and then start celebrating the wins of others to be a good leader.
Yeah.
Because it's really, if you make yourself the star of the show, you will always be on the hook to get things done. But if you celebrate other people and you give them those wins, then it becomes their thing they get to be proud of. Yeah. They feel an ownership in it. And that's when you actually have a team. And so I had to take, I guess, I don't know if I answered that question exactly,
yeah.
But getting out of checking the ego, sitting back, giving other people a chance to shine. And like a good leader, I think, should be there to celebrate their team and empower their team. You don't need to be freaking Steve Jobs. You don't need to, guaranteed, he had people who were doing all the hard work behind him,
Yeah. Yep.
You just got to have a vision. You got to clearly communicate it to people so that they at least can make decisions in alignment with the overarching goal.
Yeah.
How they do that shouldn't be a point of criticism for them. You just got to let them do it,
I don't think there's any doubt that you guys do a lot of work behind the scenes. I mean, that Thursday night football game between the Cowboys and Detroit Lions, you were back there making excellent Detroit hot dogs to the point where I placed like 3 orders and they were so good.
Thanks, man.
So I think there is a point to where we see you as customers like, oh, you're behind the bar serving beer or you're making hot dogs.
Right.
One of the questions I have, how did you source your sandwiches, or like when did that idea come
so
about?
that was actually part of like a little bit of oversight in a lease, B, COVID related necessity.
Okay.
So what had happened was our building had sold when we were still leasing, essentially. The new landlord come through the lease and was like, well, it doesn't actually say in your lease that you get a food truck out front. We had once had a food truck, and we're like, yeah, but we got this great food truck lined up. We had a food truck drop out. We were trying to get a new one lined up.
Yeah.
When we approached them to say, hey, here's all their insurance, here's all this, do you need anything else? They said, well, actually, you don't get one. And so we go, cool, great. We don't have a food truck. So now we have no food.
Okay. Why does that matter to the landowner?
The landlord was an owner operator.
Okay.
So they owned the property, but they also leased half of the building space on site. And we have a shared parking lot.
Got it.
I think that their thought was that basically it would take up parking, and they needed parking for their staff.
Got it.
So,
okay.
I mean, reasonable.
Definitely reasonable. Okay.
Very reasonable, but sucked for us.
Sure.
And that's one of those things where I get stuff in writing now. It was a valuable lesson. I learned a lesson.
Yeah.
I could either sit back and lament, or I could go, point taken. Let's move forward with that in mind. So the next thing was COVID. Restaurants were able to open before bars.
Oh, okay.
And so we said, well, why don't we become a restaurant? So we switched our licensing to basically a brew pub license.
Okay.
It required us to serve food. And technically you're supposed to serve 51% food to be classified as a restaurant worthy of reopening during the COVID eras. But we're like, okay, we assume we're going to do that. Let's make a good food program that could do that.
Yeah.
And so we launched the food program as a way to reopen.
Okay.
And we did a ton of food. And it was basically out of necessity because we wanted to open faster. And then after it started, we went, it turns out these are really good.
They're pretty damn good. Those
People really like them.
bad.
And I said, okay, well, now we keep them around, and now we're building out a deli program. We're actually bolstering the menu. We're making changes, adding new items.
That's exciting.
I actually have this cool idea of almost like creating legitimately almost like a New York deli type experience as part of our food concept, and expanding that menu in the future. So, it's funny how sometimes things just happen out of necessity and they turn out to be one of our greatest achievements. Cause I think, I don't know if we would have launched our own kitchen. Maybe we would have just taken that on the chin and just been a brewery without food.
Yeah.
If COVID hadn't forced us to think creatively and implement that system. It's hard to say.
Any background in making sandwiches, or just what you guys like, and then we're just going to put that on the menu?
Big foodie. Love food. Dude, I'm with you. I love food.
Same, yeah.
That's one of the best things about living in Austin is so much good food.
There is. There really is.
But it's like we're flavor guys. We appreciate quality product.
Right.
And so from an early time, we're like, that's beer. Mm-hmm. That's good coffee. Mm-hmm. That's good food. Like if you like craft beer, you like good espresso, it's like you like food, it's like what's good and what's not. And I love to cook. Fun fact, I honestly, if I wasn't as, I think, business driven or like entrepreneurial driven, I think being a chef would be a very interesting job because there's so much to learn. It's a difficult thing, but when executed well, it's like the best. Like good food is the best. Now I got an Italian grandmother, so maybe that's my Italian grandmother. I'm like, I love food. So I'm like, man, that's I think that's where it started. Is I like to cook in a way. This is a small way where I get to exercise that maybe that like dream that never occurred to become a chef is. Well, at least I get to make some good sandwiches.
Now, are you sourcing your bread from
It's
Easy Tiger?
It's Easy Tiger.
Okay,
yeah.
That's right. That's where I heard that from, or that's what I wanted to bring up this question. How important is getting quality product to your establishment, whether it be hops or the bread or the deli selections? Because as the internet has been over-consuming the internet in what's good food. It's telling me to look at labels, and it's telling me all the ingredients that are in your food. It's like, that's not supposed to be there. That's bad for you. So basically now I'm being more conscious of what I'm putting into my body.
Right.
So it's about eating more whole foods. It's about paying top dollar for what I assume is grass-fed beef.
Right.
So how important is that to you in your business? And sourcing good products.
It's pretty important.
Yeah.
I think, I would say what's most important, I think at the end of the day, is flavor. I think that's tops.
Yeah.
And usually that goes hand in hand with sourcing good product. There was a moment there where we had switched suppliers of bread to a different supplier that was cheaper. And honestly, I just kind of hated it. It's weird, you get like high quality bread, high quality sourdough. It's like spongy and chewy, and it has like all these nuanced flavors.
And it's worth all the calories.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, it's good for you. I think it's good for you, And I was like, man, we had this other bread that wasn't that very good. And it just, when we toasted it, it just reminded me of eating like bland croutons. I was like, what is this? Like, I don't want to serve this to people.
Right. Yeah.
If
I don't want to eat it.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. And so that's always been an important thing for us, is flavor and quality, top notch. With beer, it really comes down to just standing by our product. There's a lot of times that we've just launched a beer. Maybe something happened with a batch. We noticed an off flavor starting to arise. Yeah. We'll just pull the batch. We're like, we're not serving that anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We've had a few times. It doesn't happen a lot, but beers will come out of tanks, and we'll sample it and go, dude, that's something went off. Either we've either, some sort of production control, like a temperature spike happened, or maybe that actually did happen once. We lost power. We lost our glycol. The tanks heated up at a crucial point in fermentation. So not only did we lose a bunch of business from being closed for like a power outage freeze day, then we had to turn around and dump a bunch of beer down the drain, thousands of dollars of product down the drain. It hurts.
Yeah.
But I think your reputation is like, you stand by it. And so sometimes you just gotta suck it up.
That reminds me of my brother cooking a pork tenderloin.
Yeah.
And he had, I don't know how hard he worked on it, but he started serving it, and the center was absolutely pink and raw. And I'm like, I think I was like 13. I go, Ed, this is undercooked. He goes, no, it's not. And then my mom made a point that like, Ed, it's undercooked. And Ed was like, no, it's not. It's not undercooked. And he's like eating it. I'm like, I'm sorry, Ed, I'm going to eat around it, but I'm not going to eat the center. That's fine. And later on, like, I think a year later, he was like, yeah, that pork loin was undercooked. I'm like, no shit, Ed.
Yeah, like, dude, why did you?
Why are you letting your ego? Like, we could just chop it up and put it into some scrambled eggs. It would have been fine, but no. Yeah, you make a big thing about it.
We could have chopped that puppy in half and seared it again, whatever,
Right.
Something. Yeah, and pork is the one you don't want that
That's
for.
What,
you're like, bro.
Again, like, he's much older than me. I'm like, dude, this is not. We're all gonna get sick. He's like, no, you won't. Like, all right, whatever.
Okay, dude.
That's good on you that you quality test your products before you serve it to the public.
Yeah,
I wish more companies did that. So in this endeavor of being so successful at Nomadic Brewing, you decided to open up a second location.
Yeah.
And what was the mindset behind that? Why?
So for us, what we were really looking for was the ability to like better serve like our customers, craft beer customers. When we launched the brewery, the beer industry was popping off. It was like people were willing to go everywhere and anywhere to go find a beer. And when craft beer started, it was more about going to these industrial pockets. It was part of the experience to you're sitting on picnic tables in a parking lot, and you're sitting in an unfinished warehouse, and you're like, this is really cool. And then people were like, it'd be cool, some air conditioning in a tap room, and everyone's like, that is pretty cool. Like, we were one of the first few with air conditioning, and people were like, Nomadic's awesome, right? And then the expectation grew bigger with especially COVID. People really started to flock to, and I mean, honestly, it's always been a part of Austin culture. Great outdoor venues. When the weather's nice here, there's nothing better. Yep. And we realized that we didn't have that. And so we were sitting there going, we need to do this. Mm-hmm. We got to get this going. So we're like, okay, let's start looking for a second location. We'd survived COVID. The post-COVID spending boom was insane. We actually incorrectly interpreted that as the new normal. So, and I think a lot of places did. A lot of places went into expansion mode post-COVID, thinking they were out of it.
Yeah.
The following inflationary pressure and all the other things that followed that depressed the economy, not so fun. But at that time, man, things were heating up, red hot, man. Interest rates were low. People were spending. We're like, dude, we got to get a second location. Let's do this thing. And a property lined up that was perfect. Like, we wanted to have the outdoor space so we could accommodate big parties of guests, because our tap room occupancy is like 100 tops. We wanted something where we could accommodate a party of 100 and our guests, and it's like, we need more space. We also noticed that the craft beer consumers, right, the main people who are drinking craft beer, were aging upward, having kids, things like that. And we loved what we saw at Meanwhile with their play place. Mm-hmm. And we thought, we should have something like that for our craft beer consumers who maybe once lived in the city center, but now they moved out to the burbs, but they still want somewhere to go. We went, okay, well, Nomadic Outpost can be that. And so we built a play place, and we have 2 acres, and we have this expanded menu. And part of meeting those customers' needs was also to vary our product offering so that we could invite people in who say are celiac, right? They can't do gluten. Well, we added a full bar to the new location so that we could have the cocktail crowd. We expanded our coffee offering so that we could meet the people who aren't drinking at the time, and so we took what we learned about hospitality and creating an experience for people and said, let's expand that so that we can welcome more people in. And that's what Nomadic Outpost gave us, is just the ability to create that really great all day third space that we always intended Nomadic Beer Works to be. We could deliver on it with Outpost because we had a proven track record of business success, so we could take on more. So that was it. I mean, it turned out to be fantastic.
It's an awesome place. And I think, to your point, like, all of my friends are having kids, and I have no problem hanging out with their kids. It's just, maybe I don't want to go to the soccer game at 8 a.m, but if we can go to a brewery and we can let the little munchkin run around,
right,
while me and my buddy Ross can drink some good beer, then that's fucking awesome. Because I love spending time with my friends, and I love spending time with their kids. And if we could have a perfect world, then it's going to be at a brewery that supplies a playground for the kiddos. So.
Dude, you can hang, and I don't like going to sit down restaurants with kids. It's the worst.
I can imagine as a parent, like, it's like being on a plane where, like, you have a meltdown and you're not feeling bad.
I'm having flashbacks right now. Costa Rica was not successful, but anyways,
it's just like you feel bad because you're intervening on other people's experience. Whereas if you're out in a playground drinking a beer, no one cares. Like, let the kids scream and holler. Like, that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. So, let them run and get that crazy out, and you get to have a beer with one of your buddies and actually have a prolonged conversation and connect.
Yep.
If the kids are screaming and they're trying to calm them down, you might as well not even be there. It's like, I went out with some friends when I was in San Diego recently, and we went to this place and we had to sit inside, and my kids went full on feral mode.
Sure.
And I had to apologize to all my friends. I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry that we didn't get to talk at all. And I had to go take my 2-year-old out for walks around the block.
Yeah.
Would have loved to hung out and had a beer with you, you know? So I was like, man, we don't do sit downs anymore.
Yeah.
But
that's, I think any friend will understand that idea. Let's just go out, have a good time, drink a beer, and let the kids be kids. We are almost at 2 hours, and that's what I love about these conversations is they just go. So last question. With the younger generation not really indulging in alcohol and dry January kind of extending throughout the year, what is your plan to solve that issue? I guess not solve that issue, but what is your plan to accommodate for those individuals?
We debate this constantly. It's been at the front of my mind for years. Is how do we deliver on creating a fun environment that still welcomes everybody in when the core demographic that used to put down drinks was like me and my friends back in the day. No, like at 22, 23, especially once I was out of college and I had some spending cash. I mean, we were hitting the bars all the time. That generation, they're not as interested, taking a greater approach to health. And I think it's not even just that generation. I think it's the access to information via social media that's allowed people to kind of connect with a wellness culture. I think that accelerated a lot of trends in health, which I actually applaud. I think they're great. Also, I think the loosening of laws around cannabis and other extracurriculars such as those, I think has allowed people a lot of different options for getting a little buzz, like you can do it in your own way that fits your life, which actually is great as well. What we've done is basically we added the THC component. There's so many good THC seltzers out there that you can add to certain things. Those are great. That gives people an opportunity to pick their journey. I was bartending yesterday and I had a guy come in. He started with a couple beers. He ended with one THC drink. Guy was stoked. He was super happy, clearly. He's having a good time, But I do think the way that we welcome people in is they're not necessarily trying to not drink. What they're trying to do is not have the negative repercussions of drinking too much. And so if you're not, some nights, I will say this, some people do want to get properly drunk and have a good time, man. They Ubered in and they're like, it's on. And, we're happy to serve them responsibly, of course, but, they want a big 7%er. They want a big 9%er. They're there to drink big craft beer, which you can only get at a pub. But most people, where the volume is shifted for us, is reducing the alcohol percentage of our beers to having more sessionable products. So our best-selling IPA used to be
sessionable.
Sessionable. Yeah, I still want to drink 2 beers. I just don't want to drink 2 8% beers. I don't need the double IPA. So our best-selling IPA now is 6%. We've introduced several pale ales.
Is that the peak season?
No, peak season is still sitting at 6.6. Okay. It's a little bigger. But our San Diego West Coast IPA, New Age West Coast, it's 6%. We recently introduced an extra pale ale, an XPA, which is really, really clean, crisp, less grain. So we could use a little bit less hops. Still brings that bitterness, but it's not heavy. Drinks really light. It's like 5.2%. But it delivers on the flavor you expect out of a craft beer. So I think people still want to go out for the occasion. We want to be social. We want to get together with folks. But there's no hiding the fact that I think that today's world, or this economy, is harder than it was, say, 10 years ago. It seems like, especially that generation is having to pick and choose where they spend their dollars. So it's finding ways to kind of give people the ability to go out and have fun without losing productivity, so that they can bring their best self to work the next day, or maybe even later that day. Who knows? Right. that's how we've done it. And what's cool is that actually as Gen Z is progressing in the market, which is really interesting, they actually are adopting the behaviors and trends of their older cohorts.
Really?
And so elder Gen Z are starting to drink alcohol. They're, so it's tough to say if it's age related. Was it a COVID related blip? Is it a societal shift? It's been such a short amount of time. This has been on everyone's radar.
Yeah.
I guess in short, I'm not worried, man. I'm here to make good beer. Like, I just want to make the best beer. And if I got to sell a few other things that everyone is happy, if it allows me to keep producing beer, then I'm a happy guy.
Okay.
Like that's my goal.
Yeah. Anytime I go into a brewery, it's all right. Give me your heavy hitter at the top.
Right.
And then we'll go to a sessional type beer that'll keep me consuming but not getting kicked out of the place.
Right. Yeah, you're like, dude, I want that one big IPA because I'm here for that flavor.
Exactly.
And then you're like, you know what? Hit me with that lager. I want like a nice crispy boy. Like I just want a coldie, cold, bubbly, beer flavored beer.
So good.
Done.
I'd never really the game plan of going to THC at the end of the session. It's
a bold move.
It is. No. And in my consumption of those beverages, it's not the same consistency. So 5 milligrams in one can could mean something else in another can.
That's interesting.
I haven't found that consistency because there's sometimes it'll be like I can't talk right now, but then there are other times I'm like, what did I just pay this $10 for? I feel nothing. So,
that's so true. I actually know the founder of the cannabis company who operates out of the St. Elmo yard area, and that's one of his things he actually brought up to me was, product consistency and quality, especially in regards to health. Right. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how he's sourcing all of his buds, and he knows the supply base, he knows the farmers, he knows everything about it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times when you do buy these CBD products or these THCAs or these CBGs or whatever, there's a million of them. One thing that's interesting is people are doing it for quote unquote health, to not have gluten or not do whatever or not have alcohol, but then there's no independent testing on the backside about like the quality of bud that's being put in there, the extracts. Is it lab derived? Are they laden with pesticides? And that is something that's it's going to be something that people start debating more in the future. Is not only is this a cannabis beverage, but is it a high quality? Mm-hmm. Do we know the sources? And is it awesome? And is it consistent? Am I going to get totally lit one time and utterly upset and disappointed the next? Like, what am I having here?
Right. It is also, if I'm a consumer of the herbal remedies, but like I try to factor that in too. I'm like, I didn't eat anything today. I didn't have, I didn't have any other like anything else in my body that I would assume that would affect me. So why isn't this 5 milligrams hitting me the way the other 5 milligrams hit me?
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm kind of interested, but also excited about in the future and how they provide that consistency. Because when I go to a brewery and I have a 6% beer, I know what that's going to do to me, and I feel the same effect across all breweries. At your place, Meanwhile, at St. Elmo, it's like it's the same consistency.
That's true. We've got that locked down. We know exactly what we're serving.
Exactly.
There's regulatory agencies making sure we're not fudging it, so no one's going home getting too lit. It is true. It's wildly consistent. You're like a 1-to-1 ratio. You know how much you're putting in, what you're getting out. That's pretty good. That's a good point. I really thought about it.
I'm a veteran in understanding those circumstances, but
that's a true pro of navigating the field.
Now the new frontier of THC products. We'll see what comes of it. But either way,
so I had a question for you, just out of like curiosity.
Absolutely.
Man. So what's the most exciting thing that you think is going on in your field right now, or what you're working on?
AI is probably the most exciting thing. I think it won't replace actual storytelling. Right. I think it's a great tool for any small business owner that wants to, tinker around and try to create something cool visually, whether it be a photo or video. I think that's there. But if you want a true, authentic story, you need someone there to pull those questions out, to ask the questions or reframe them in a different way to get that authentic answer from the individual on camera. So like if you're asking for you in your business, what are the most exciting things about your business? What drives you to this place every single day? Then I don't think AI can accomplish that, because I think you need a one-to-one connection with the human being, because you're telling stories to other human beings, and you need a human being to extract that story. So I think AI is exciting, but I'm not fearful of it. Something else in my industry that I'm excited about, it's definitely not cameras, because cameras, it's just like the Gillette razor. Remember how back in the day they had 2 blades, and then the next version had 3, and the next version had 4?
Right.
Well, they keep adding all these little tricks, like more megapixels, more frame rates, and it's like, that doesn't excite me anymore. It's about like, what can I do with less? If I can just go to a venue and film a show with just one camera, one lens, that kind of excites me, because I've been doing it for so long. So doing things with less, that excites me. And then
interesting.
Just really focusing on the numbers aspect of my business now. It's kind of like a gamified thing. So this month, I thankfully or unthankfully had to pay $9,000 in taxes because of my business, because I didn't file quarterly, because I'm dumb, and now I'm going to start doing that this year to hopefully save a little bit of money. But just seeing how, I was able to sell this much of my service. How can I double that next month without killing myself? What are the connections here that make a successful video, or what are the connections here that makes a customer return to me for my services, and how do I double down on that? So just seeing and actually tracking the numbers of my business it's turned into like a game almost, and that's the way I spin in my head, because brother, spreadsheets are boring as hell.
Right.
But when you're implementing like numbers, and the numbers keep getting bigger each month, it's like an addiction. It's like, what are the common denominators here? How do I figure it out? It's a puzzle that I'm trying to piece together. So that's also exciting, but also very boring that I'm getting excited about spreadsheets.
Nah, man, I think it's crucial. I think that is where a lot of the fun comes from. Is it's also like, it's almost like an exercise in valuing yourself, when you go like, I'm getting what I need out of this, okay, cool. Now I feel impassioned to go do more of it, because it can easily ebb and flow each way. And sometimes, having been in business now for, I'm celebrate 7 years of operation pretty soon.
Congratulations.
It doesn't always go that way. And so when you're staring at the other direction and you're going, I don't even want to calculate my hourly. Like, I don't want to do this. We're going to skip that for today. Exactly. And let's figure out the upside potential, and let's solve a problem that gets me where I want to be.
Right.
I mean, dude, you're talking to a total spreadsheet nerd. So like, I'm like, yeah, bro, get it.
I have to. Okay. I use AI to say, hey, calculate this formula, put it in a spreadsheet, so that way I can copy and paste it on my spreadsheet.
There you go.
And that, like, just trying to figure out the average of numbers, like just trying to do it manual. I'm like, I have no idea all right, Google, figure it out for me.
Right.
Plops it in, and then I can, drop it in the cells.
So AI on the back end, human touch on the front end.
Exactly.
Nice.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful way of putting it.
That makes sense, man. I like that. I mean, I think that the human touch is what we all want. And I think it's what a lot of times we're missing, and it's going to be interesting. I do feel this draw back to simpler analog tech happening. Yes. I see this draw back to slowing down, digital detox. I do see, like, we're exploring the potential of AI, but it's also, it feels AI. You can see it, and maybe one day we won't be able to feel it. But then I think even if you can't see it, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna miss that human touch that makes something special, makes a piece of art special or valuable.
Yep.
It's kind of like the same way. It's like you get together in a public space, like a pub or a coffee shop, or your favorite brewery. It's better than meeting on a Zoom call.
It really
sure
is.
You see faces and you exchange words, but like, do you feel it? Like, are you with those people?
Right.
Or when you interact on social media, it kind of depletes you. Whereas when you meet with your friends, it kind of fills your cup. That's super cool. I feel that.
I also feel like now we're starting to understand the importance of small business, because as more information comes out about how much chemicals are in your food that you're consuming each day.
Yeah.
When you go to a small restaurant and they're putting in the time and effort to put something artistic on your plate that's going to be really good for you and taste really good, and it's not riddled with chemicals. I think people are starting to appreciate that not fine dining experience, but that, I don't know, that human touch approach to creating a product that is not filled with chemicals. And I think businesses like yours that care about the product, I think are going to reap the rewards. Like, yeah, you're working your ass off to provide us this product.
Right.
But it shows. We can taste how awesome your beers are, how great your sandwiches are. Even with, people like Dave who's brewing the coffee, like he cares about his product too, and that's 100%. Why he's on your team. So I think now more than ever, because we're so tired of big businesses not caring about us as customers, like they don't give a shit about us, but people like you care about us, like you care about the things that we're consuming. So I think now with everything that's coming to light, it's just, I think now is the time for small business owners to go that extra step to provide that extra level of support to your customer, whether it be in video or, beer.
Totally. So, yeah.
I'm excited about the future. One thing that kind of made me realize that is my wife finally got off her parents' plan from her cell phone and got on her plan. So she went to AT&T and they offer this special package. It's $40-$50 a month. But when she got her first bill, it was $130. So she had to call in to reap the rewards of paying a significant less phone bill. And I'm like, yeah, you can wallow in the amount of times that you're pissed off at the customer service rep, or you can just understand that you had to work for a cheaper, more reasonable phone bill. And I think you should just lay in that mindset of I earned this cheaper phone bill because I put in the effort. Whereas millions of other Americans are just going to see that $130 phone bill and be like, it is what it is. But because you actually worked for it, you're going to reap the rewards of it.
Yeah.
And that's one way that I refrain all the terrible things that happen to you because you're just trying to deal with a big business.
It's totally, man. So it's the old quality of thought is quality of life, right? Yep. Marcus Aurelius. That idea, it's you get to choose a story you tell, and both are true. So pick one that's a little bit better for you, right? You're yeah, we had I am that guy. I wouldn't say I'm a stoic, but I do value some of the stoic principles in reframing thought. I don't want to be numb to it all, but I do find that kind of thing to be a good mental exercise, because it happened.
Yep.
So now what is usually the response we take to most problems that arise is, okay.
Yeah.
So this is reality.
I've laughed. Well, I had a realistic moment at a comedy show. I was filming an event, and mind you, comedy shows don't pay. They pay a small fee compared to what I would charge a corporate client.
Yeah.
I do it because it's fun. I do it because I get to hear some comedy. And
you get something out of it besides the pay.
Yeah. So I brought my full kit. I brought 3 cameras, and I had gone upstairs to check the audio. And then on my way back down, I hear a crash. It turns out my camera had fallen over, and it's either someone knocked it over or it was a faulty tripod. It doesn't matter now because the camera's broke. And I just looked at it. I'm like, okay. I could go ballistic and nuclear and walk out of this gosh darn venue, or I could just say, that happened. I lost $1,500, but now I don't have to worry about a 3rd camera. I just have to worry about 2 cameras. And that's now,
True.
I can only bring 2 cameras to every shoot now. So even though I lost a camera, but I also lost the liability, and I was thankful for that. So I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I dig it.
But
and you didn't blow up.
Right,
so you still got to enjoy a night of comedy, which again, you would have been an L if you would have taken the blown up, dude, and you're just punishing yourself,
Yeah, and when they dissect the tumor out of my brain from that event, that's what I'll also tell myself. So there's that.
Yeah, man.
All right, brother.
Wild. We are at fun though, man.
Yeah, it's 2 hours. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're a father of 2 with 2 businesses to run. So coming over here on a Monday afternoon to sit and chat with me means a whole lot to me, and I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I appreciate the opportunity to do it too, man. It's always fun. And honestly, like, again, this is kind of like the road trip. It's like how often you get to sit down with somebody and just chat for a couple hours, man. It's been a good time.
Yeah, brother.
No doubt.
Right. Well, we'll see you around your breweries and your establishments, and I'll be sure to bring my friends and their kids.
Heck yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Daniel.
Yep.